Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Present with us today is one of the most prominent preachers of Krishna consciousness in Russia and neighboring countries. You already said it in Tamil, so namely Chaitanya Chandra Charan Prabhu. So I don't know if you're aware, but he's sitting there very humbly at the back. I just came from Vellore in Tamil Nadu, which came to national prominence a few years ago due to the prolonged visit of the Shankaracharya of Kanchi there. How long was he there for in the prison? That was during Jailalita's time. Anyway, now it's becoming famous for the Golden Temple. Many people visit there every day from various parts of India, especially from Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. I don't think any of our ISKCON devotees have been there, because it's the headquarters of another bogus guru, someone who struck the big time. Somehow he got in the big money. There are so many bogus gurus in India. Not only in India, but all over the world. But especially India is the founding place of bogus gurus. People who claim themselves to be God, or there's someone in Tamil Nadu is supposed to, one man is supposed to be the incarnation of Durga, and there's all kinds of strange things. So anyway, in our Krishna conscious movement, we don't care for all these bogus people. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if you have the sun, then what do you need a glowworm for? Glowworm. Jonah ki poka. Bangla, anyway, it doesn't matter. So we're not concerned with all these cheating people. The only thing we're concerned is that they are cheating people from the real goal of life, which is to understand Krishna. Anyway, it is a fact that big temples attract people to come. Anything in general attracts people. So we're also building a big temple here. We don't need a temple. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam kalo nascheva gati aranyata. In Kali Yuga, the only way to achieve or attain the ultimate destination is by chanting the holy names of Hari, chanting the holy names of Hari, chanting the holy names of Hari. There is no other way, there is no other way. Once in Vrindavan, during the period when Krishna Balaram Mandir was under construction, someone put a question come challenge to Srila Prabhupada in this regard, that you're supposed to be a follower of Rupa Goswami, but you find that the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, they took shelter under a different tree each night, so why are you building a big temple? Srila Prabhupada said, for ourselves we don't need it, but because people, they don't have appreciation of the message that we have, so if we build a big temple, they'll think, oh, that's a very important sadhu, let's listen to what he has to say. So Prabhupada said, it's not for me, it's for you, to facilitate that you can listen to what I have to say. If I just sit under a tree, who will bother to listen to what I say? They'll think he's just another chapati begging sadhu, or idli begging sadhu. So in Amritsar, in Punjab, there's another golden temple, a much older golden temple, which Srila Prabhupada also visited when he was in Amritsar in about 1971, something like that. Prabhupada visited with his disciples. Recently I visited Amritsar for the first time, and as Srila Prabhupada had visited that place, it is blessed. So I thought I'll also visit. That is, of course, the most important shrine of the Sikh religion. In the guest book, when Srila Prabhupada visited there, in the comments, Srila Prabhupada wrote, very spiritual. So I also was asked to sign the guest book, and I made this same comment. I didn't think I could put a better comment than my spiritual master. So as I was there, I was thinking, well, what can we learn from this golden temple? Well, when you go there, the first thing that strikes you is that it's very beautiful, very opulent. There's a large tank. In the center of that is the golden temple. It's, as it says, it's the whole roof, the whole dome is covered with gold. And everything that particular temple, it's not very big, but that temple in the middle of the tank, water tank, that's all made of marble and then all the surrounding buildings around the tank are all made of marble. So it's very opulent and very beautifully made. Okay. So obviously it's anyone who comes cannot fail to be impressed. That if people, they go to all the trouble to make such a beautiful place, and if they spend so much money for it, then it must be something very important or something they take very seriously. Of course, the Golden Temple in Vellore hasn't had that effect. I think despite all the opulence which we're told about, the temple's full of gold, that no one takes the person who built it seriously as a spiritual person. But of course, the Sikh religion has a history and a culture, and so it's not just for the promotion of one person. Also very much striking is cleanliness. Everything is kept very clean. So naturally, if you go in a place which is very clean, then you feel very clean. If a place is very beautiful and very clean also, then the effect of seeing the big opulent building is enhanced. Of course, here in Tamil Nadu there are also so many big temples, but I don't think any of them are very clean. So you get, when you see like piles of garbage and all, and nothing's kept clean, nothing's maintained properly, you think that, well, in the past people took this seriously, but at present they're not so serious. That's the impression you get. Of course, I'm not saying this to necessarily blame the people there. There may be various reasons why they don't keep it so clean, because the temples used to have huge staff, and now they're government managed. They don't. The government manages the temple, takes all the money and doesn't maintain them properly. But anyway, the beauty and the cleanliness, if that's there, then it's very impressive. And you can understand that people, they're very committed to maintaining the sanctity of the place. And everything there is very well organized. And everything is done by voluntary service. So organization is also important. Shortly before Srila Prabhupada left this world, his personal presence became unmanifest. He asked one of his leading disciples, how will this movement go on after I pass away? Because Srila Prabhupada was managing everything. Say Mota Shishya means like leading. The same in Gujarati is interesting. So the devotee, he said, sincerity, Prabhupada. Sincerity of the devotees. Prabhupada said sincerity and intelligence. To be sincere is good, but to organize something in this world also requires practical, applied intelligence. I often think that just like we're preaching the highest philosophy and we're asking people to come to the highest standard, but people are not likely to be very impressed if they see that we can't even keep our toilets clean. In other words, if we actually have a very high philosophy and we should be on a very high level of consciousness, and that should be manifest in everything we do. So if we're not keeping things clean, that means actually our consciousness is not on a high level, it's on the lowest level. That's called tamagu. So another feature of that, another lesson that I made a note of, I thought we could learn from that golden temple, how it's very well organized. You all like to come inside, sit down? There's organized by mutual cooperation. Those who are doing service there, they're doing service because they want to. It's voluntary service. And you'll see people who, obviously they're not from sweeper class, they're economically well-to-do, but they'll be sweeping and washing and doing all these kind of services. So the spirit of performing humble service, that's also the heart of Vaishnavism, and that everyone is mutually cooperating, and it generates an atmosphere of sadbhavana, or natural good feelings among each other. Of course, we're not Sikhs. It means shishya, so in that sense we are, but there are significant differences between the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and that of the present Sikh religion. But the point is that as they have organized very well a spiritual or religious center which Srila Prabhupada appreciated, and as we in our International Society for Krishna Consciousness are also developing this kind of project, I just wanted to share some thoughts which I thought we could all learn from. Another significant feature is 24 hours free food distribution. So Srila Prabhupada also wanted that at our temples there should be profuse prasad distribution. Srila Prabhupada said that no one within 10 kilometers of our temples should go hungry. And no one in Amritsar goes hungry. No one in Amritsar, the place of the Golden Temple. Because any time you can go and eat as much as you like. This is of course funded by profuse donations. The members of the Sikh religion, they feel they naturally want to donate when they see everything is going on so nicely. So if also in our ISKCON centers, if we organize everything so nicely, then naturally people feel that yes, this is something that's it's worth giving donations to. Automatically people will want to give. And the whole atmosphere and organization and the feeling, the beauty, the feeling of sanctity of the place, they all combine to give the members of the Sikh religion a sense of conviction that this is something very good that I'm part of. So this also in our ISKCON centers, we want to make this kind of atmosphere that people, when they come, they feel, yes, I want to be part of this. On the other hand, if we come to a temple and we find it's dirty and the people there, they're not behaving with each other or anyone else very nicely, and things are all unorganized, the toilets are dirty, you think, what do I want to come here for? So the temple is a center in which all the adherents, they can come and they have some service to do and they feel connected, they get engaged, it's a focal point for them. And if that atmosphere is generated where everyone's cooperating happily to serve Krishna, then naturally a very spiritual atmosphere, as Srila Prabhupada wrote, very spiritual, that will be generated. We have to be careful that we don't just take the easy path and just build a temple and collect donations and then live without any higher spiritual motive. The danger in building temples is that because there are facilities for devotees to live there, that we think of it just as a facility for our living. And actually the purpose of the temple is to speak the message of Krishna consciousness to those who come. Once Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was asked, why are you making new temples? There are already so many temples. And he said that because we have to have a place where we can speak our own message. There really is not much point in building a temple if it's just another temple where people come and they take darshan and they go away. Temple of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is supposed to be a place where people come and they go away with more than they entered with. They get a spiritual uplift. Particularly the temples are meant for, just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he called the Sri Gauriya Math in Calcutta the Vani Hata, or the place where knowledge is distributed, the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is distributed. People coming to the temple, they should, it should be noticeable that the persons living there, they're on a high platform of consciousness. We're going everywhere, or we try to go to various places to preach this message of Krishna consciousness. So many books are being distributed. The concepts therein are far higher than that of which most people have even imagined. Most people don't think beyond eating, sleeping, mating and defending. Ahara nidra bhaya maithun. But the Bhagavata says, Kamasya nindriya pritir, that life should not be lived for sense gratification. Or desire should not be focused on sense enjoyment. Jivasya tattva jignyasa, life should be lived for the sake of understanding the truth, or inquiring into the truth. Narto yes chait karma bhi, one should not perform work for any other purpose than understanding the truth. So this concept is far above that of people engaged in their day-to-day activities. So when people come to our centers, they expect to find people who live according to this principle. And actually, if people do live according to this principle, then the temple is really Vaikuntha. But if people come to the temple and they find that the people living there are more or less the same as themselves, but I work in an office and I maintain my body like that, and these people, they live in a temple and they maintain themselves like that, then obviously they're not going to be very impressed, they're going to be disappointed. The temples, residence in temples is meant for persons who have no interest other than to serve Krishna. It is not meant to be a pious method of solving the belly problem. That those who reside in the temple, they have two purposes to their life. One is to themselves cultivate Krishna consciousness, and the other is that what they have imbibed to share that with others. And that is the real opulence of the temple. The temple may be made of straw and bamboo, but if there are truly sincere devotees there, then that is far better than having just like in Vellore, there's a golden temple with people who have no spiritual concept whatsoever. I was talking about the Sri Gauriya Math in Calcutta. That was donated by a Calcutta businessman, a highly successful businessman who spent his life savings on building that temple, purchasing the plot and building the temple. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had started the Gauriya Math. Let me see, that was 1932, so that would be 14 years before, with nothing, just his own faith. But due to his impressing people with his dedication to Krishna, that people came forward and offered to build beautiful buildings for the glorification of Krishna. But after the temple was built, Saraswati Thakur saw that some of his disciples were quarreling among themselves over who should have the best room to reside in. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, it is better to break the temple, sell all the bricks and the marble, and use the money for printing books, He was not attached to the bricks, but he wanted that the spirit of Krishna consciousness be alive. He said, I am not a contractor. I'm not a building contractor. I am building temples. But I am a peon of Rupa and Raghunath. In other words, he's a servant of the great acharyas. So as we're building these big temples, we always have to keep in mind, what is the purpose of them? The purpose is the glorification of Krishna, not the glorification of those who are building the temple. The purpose of the temple is to give a facility whereby people can come and become Krishna conscious. If that is effective, then the temple is successful. Even if there's no marble, there's a spirit of service. That is the essence of the temple. And however much marble and gold and so much opulence may be there, if there's not an atmosphere of selfless service to Krishna, then it's all meaningless. So we can learn also from people, even they don't have the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but they've made a tasteful arrangement. So we also want to make tasteful arrangements for the glorification of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna. Is there any question or comment about this, please? No question, no comment. There are a lot of religions in the world. How is Krishna related to other religions? Well, if we actually understand who Krishna is, we understand that everything is related to Krishna, not that Krishna is related to something else. Krishna is the center. Krishna is the ultimate principle of everything. So religion can be considered religion to the extent that it recognizes Krishna. Interestingly, in the Sikh religion, you're not allowed to read the book unless you're initiated. The Granth Sahib, it's something like the system used to be there in India. Only the Brahmins can read Shastra. So one person who's initiated into that, he was telling one devotee that it's the Guru Granth Sahib, it's full of glorification of Krishna and Rama, but they told us, don't tell anyone this. If you tell anyone this, we'll kill you. So they also had a Vaishnava concept to some extent, but nowadays they're deliberately covering that over. If I was in Punjab, I'd be killed for saying this, but fortunately I'm quite a long way away from that. You see there among the Sikhs there's Guru Gobind Singh, Guru Arjun Singh, and even today the Sikhs, they often have names like Har Bhajan, which means Bhajan of Hari. But they don't know it means that. The propensity to believe in a supreme being is the beginning of religion. To understand who that person is and what our relationship with him is, that is the full-fledged understanding of religion. That is Krishna consciousness. To accept that there is a supreme being is certainly better than denying it or doubting it. To accept God is great, Allahu Akbar, that is the beginning. But as Srila Prabhupada said, it's not enough to say that God is great, we have to understand how He is great. And factually, Srimad Bhagavatam especially gives such knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that is not found in what we might call the religious traditions of the world. So if people actually want to understand who is God, then they should come to Srimad Bhagavatam. The problem is that most people who are religious, they are religious in a formal way. That I was quoting, Jivasya tattva jignasa. One should live, or life should be lived for the sake of inquiring into the absolute truth. But most people are not interested in understanding the truth. For them, a social identity. You see, I have my wife, I have my job, I have my dog, I have my children, and I have my religion. On Saturday we go to the temple, and on Sunday we go to the movie. good Hindu family. So that kind of religious understanding can actually, it's a block to self-realization. Because you think, well, I'm religious, so that's alright, that's enough. I go to the temple once a week, so that's enough. We don't, being religious is okay, but don't be too religious. So this kind of thinking is an obstacle to being religious in the actual sense of the term. So sometimes we find that people who are atheistic or not committed to any religious path, we can communicate Krishna consciousness to them easier than people who are nominally religious. People think, I already have my religion, I don't need to hear from anyone else. But they have no idea that real religion means to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender to Him. Most people, if they have any idea of God, it's quite vague and they want to keep it vague. There's some vague idea of God who helps us to enjoy ourselves in this material world, and when we die, He'll arrange for us to have a better future. So how does Krishna relate to all this religion? Yeyata mang prapadyante tangs tathaiva bhajame aham. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, to the extent that people surrender to me, that extent I reciprocate with them. So if we want to have a vague belief in God and keep Him at some distance, then He'll remain at some distance. And He may bless us with material prosperity, but with that comes birth, death, old age and disease. And if we're actually serious to understand Him, then He will reveal Himself to us. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. One who's serious to understand God, then Krishna directs him to someone who can give actual knowledge of God. Krishna is within everyone's heart. He understands what we want and He directs us accordingly. If we want to be cheated, Krishna will direct us to a cheater. How are these cheating so-called gurus, so-called bhagawans, how are they flourishing? Because people want to be cheated. That may sound shocking. How is it that people want to be cheated? It doesn't sound possible. But we see that all the time. People want to be cheated. The whole advertising business, multi-billion-dollar business, works on the principle that people want to be cheated. People know that the claims made in the advertisements are not true, but nevertheless they consent to believe it and they purchase the product. Because this whole material world is a place of cheating. We are cheating ourselves that I can be happy separately from Krishna. So we accept an illusion as reality. So we tend toward illusion rather than truth. So religion which does not come to the point of understanding that Krishna is supreme, we have to surrender to Him, that is called cheating religion. Priti vite jato katha dharma name chale bhagavata kahe taha paripurna chale. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, taking or elaborating on the first words of the Bhagavatam regarding religion, states that whatever talk is going on in the world in the name of religion, it's all fully bluffing. Because Krishna is so pure and so valuable and so significant, even a perverted approach to Him has some value. Even an incomplete and materially contaminated approach to Him, that still has value. So we can say in one sense, the religions of the world, unless they're founded deliberately for the sake of cheating people, we can say that they all have value. But in course of whatever they were in the beginning, and in course of time they've been filled with various misconceptions and people's own personal agendas, and so it's very difficult to find in what's called religion anyone who's actually, in the true sense of the term, religious. We have to be careful in our Krishna conscious movement that we don't indulge in the propensity which we find in all religions, that a great prophet comes and speaks about God, and then the subsequent generations come and jumble it all up and make some materialistic dogma in the name of God. Question, comment?
In Bhagavatam, in page, in second canto, in the beginning, it's given Buddha is the present one, and then in the later stage said the Buddha mentioned here is not the one who appeared now. So what is the difference between them?
Well, it's stated in the second canto that this is that this Buddha, he subdued the asuras who were trying to make space exploration projects. So, I mean, obviously it's a whole different approach, isn't it? Manifestations of the Supreme Lord who appears as Buddha in different ages, and basically his job is to deal with the atheists and demons, but he may do so in different ways according to the particular circumstance. There's no real need to go into this question more deeply than this question of curiosity. You see, the basic principles we should try to understand. Tattva jignasa. Tattva jignasa means the endeavor to understand the principles of the Absolute Truth. But all the details, it's not possible to know, and it's not even helpful for us to even try to know everything about everything. For Vaishnavas, it's not necessary to make a deep study of Buddhism. Basically, we can understand the principle. Nindasi yagya vidheraha shruti jatam sadaya hridaya darshita pashughatam keshava dhrita buddha sharira jaya jagadisha hare. Lord Buddha appeared in this Kali Yuga, deprecating the process of sacrifice described in the Vedas. He did so to stop people who were using the name of the Vedas to kill many animals. He did so out of compassion for the animals. Lord Buddha didn't actually give any spiritual instruction. He gave moral instructions, and he spoke of renunciation of this world. It's generally thought that Lord Buddha denied the existence of the soul, but actually he just didn't talk about the soul. He didn't talk about the Atma. And later persons who considered themselves followers of Buddha, they thought, well, if he didn't talk about it, there can't be any such thing. But in Buddhism, there's no discussion of the name, form, qualities or pastimes of Krishna. There is no bhakti. So we understand that Lord Buddha's teachings, they were appropriate for a certain time, place and circumstance and certain kind of people. But we are fortunate to come in the era when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan is being propagated, and we can take part in that. Sankirtanai kapitaro kamalaya taksho. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu have appeared. They are the fathers of the Sankirtan movement. Jana lambata bhujo kanaka vadato. Their arms, their transcendental arms, are so long that they stretch down to their transcendental knees, and their countenance is golden. Vishvambharo, they are the maintainers of the universe. Dvijavaro, they appear as the best of Brahmanas. Yuga Dharma Palo, they are the protectors of the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of Hare Krishna. Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karanavataro, they are we offer our obeisances to they who are very dear to the world, who are the most merciful avatar. Hare Krishna. Anything else? We'll finish there. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai.